One of your own came to retrieve this and fell. And I bring it to you. And I set it down in front of Jester, 2 or 3 feet in front of her feet, and raise my hands back into the air.
A simple artefact, a grey quartz beacon, holds the power to reshape life, death, even entire wars. Forged by the Luxon and steeped in ancient geomancy, it can tether souls to the cycle of rebirth. It's fragile in hand, but its magic is anything but. Our story begins in the storm of rising conflict between the Dwendalian Empire and the Jorhassian Kryn dynasty. Caught in the middle, the Mighty Nine uncover one of those beacons and soon find themselves bargaining between life, death, and peace. Central to this is Caleb Widogast, a scholar who never sought power, suddenly holding an artifact capable of changing the fate of nations. When he chose to deliver the beacon to the Bright Queen of the Kryn dynasty, it isn't just an object changing hands. It's a choice that ripples through politics, faith, and personal legacy. In this video, we'll explore the lead up to that pivotal moment, the weight of Caleb's decision, and how handing over the Luxon beacon reshaped not only Exandria, but the lives of those who carried it. Hi everyone, it's Shaylee, and the Luxon beacon enters the Mighty Nine's story almost by accident. An ancient grey quartz dodecahedron uncovered during their journey. It isn't flashy at first glance, but Caleb senses something far deeper. When he sleeps beside it, he dreams of drifting through stars, soft pulses of light guiding him onwards. There's a serenity and infinite possibility woven into its hum. From early on, Caleb's reaction is more than just curiosity, it's awe. To him, this object represents both something beyond mortal understanding and a promise of rebirth and renewal. That quiet resonance speaks to something he's been chasing. A chance to reshape his past and find meaning beyond magic and mistakes. The beacon is a shard of something far greater. The Luxon, an ancient cosmic entity that splintered itself into these glowing vessels. According to Kryn belief, each beacon holds the capacity for consecutive lives, souls entwined in a cycle of rebirth, learning, and growth. It's not merely a magical artifact, it's a philosophical statement. Who are we? Why are we here? And how many lives are just the beginning? As the party studies it, whispering about soul binding and cosmic purpose, it becomes clear that this isn't just another MacGuffin. It's a turning point. For Caleb, the beacon's promise of possibility and the burden of its potential become deeply personal. It's a tool for hope, but also a symbol of great responsibility. A crossroads between use as a weapon, a gift, or a guiding symbol that could change the fate of nations.
And they said that when we were in there that you had to be, what was the term again?
Consecuted.
Consecuted.
That is a process, though I would say it is one that requires a lot of patience. It is a bit convoluted.
Does it take a long time?
The ritual itself takes about a day.
Is it painful?
Yes. The consecution is not. The process of having to die to be consecuted or return to a new form, depending, can be painful, I'm sure.
How did they do it?
Well, they don't kill them once they're consecuted, but when life comes to an end, and they're within a radial region of a beacon, then the soul is taken by the beacon and then implanted within a new life.
At first glance, a Luxon beacon is a curious artifact, an elegant grey quartz dodecahedron that hums faintly with power. But this quiet object holds an extraordinary promise. The power of consecution. In the world of Exandria, this practice transformed death and legacy. To understand its significance, picture this. When someone consecuted to the Luxon dies within a 100-mile radius of the beacon, their soul doesn't journey onward. Instead, it's reborn into a newborn child within that same radius. They grow, touched by dreams or visions of past lives, ghostly memories that guide them back to Jorhas and eventually lead them into Kryn society. This rebirth isn't a glitch. It's a beautifully orchestrated cycle woven into the very identity of the Kryn dynasty. But the beacon's influence doesn't stop there. It also softens a deep historic wound. The Curse of Strife. This dark legacy cast by the god Bane haunts Goblinkin. Goblins, hobgoblins, bugbears and the like, bending their souls toward chaos and violence. And yet any goblinkin born within the beacon's range is shielded. The beacon's light extinguishes the curse's grip at birth. A being who might have been doomed to cruelty instead grows with the possibility of compassion, agency, even heroism. It's this dual power of rebirth and redemption that makes the beacon one of the most compelling artifacts of any Critical Role campaign. It's not merely a resurrection device, but a cultural cornerstone. In times of war, it becomes a beacon of hope, or a root of conflict. The Kryn dynasty sees it as their path to transcend mortality and perfect their souls. The Empire, however, fears it, believing it might fuel insurrection or empower those they deem untrustworthy. Here lies the discord. In the heart of conflict, does the Luxon's promise become a true force of renewal, or merely a tool to prolong war? Rebirth is as much a concept of identity as it is of body. For some, the beacon offers salvation from curses and a chance to remember who they were. For others, it risks entrenching divisions deeper. Rebirth is prolongation, not healing. In narrative terms, the beacon becomes a living question. Can a community forge its destiny through intentional rebirth, or merely repeat its past under a new name?
So as the dark takes your dreams, sleep brings calm, brings peace, brings rest. There's a soft hum that seems to radiate around you. A welcoming softness, a light. Not quite white, not quite dark, it's kind of a grayish, familiar light. Strangely, you feel it pull you forward through stars, through the distant night sky. You see beacons of light coast by. You see a dark sphere before you.
When the Luxon beacon enters the stage, it becomes far more than a powerful relic. It's a symbol with a razor-sharp double edge. On one side lies its radiant promise of rebirth and unity, and on the other, its swift transformation into a geopolitical weapon. During the height of the Empire Dynasty War, the beacon wasn't treated as a diplomatic olive branch. It was seized, studied, and repurposed. One faction saw salvation, the other saw subjugation. Caleb's decision to hand the beacon to the Bright Queen marked a pivotal moment in that conflict. Was he offering hope? A chance for the Kryn people to heal and evolve through the cycle of rebirth? Or was he enabling a potent weapon, an artefact of immortality that could entrench power and justify conquest? The beacon could spark a cultural renaissance, but it could also escalate the very war it sought to transcend. The dichotomy becomes even sharper when you examine how quickly the Luxon beacon was militarized. What once encouraged recollection of past lives and spiritual growth was woven into the fabric of strategy and control. Ownership of these dodecahedrons meant control over life, death, and identity. Any empire wielding that ability steps uncomfortably close to godhood, opening the door to oppression disguised as liberation. Ethically, Caleb's choice planted seeds for both light and shadow. He might have thought he was handing over a symbol of transcendence, but to some eyes, he gave the dynasty a license to escalate conflict, to baptize their political power in spiritual rhetoric. Was he a healer or an unwitting architect of a new kind of war? That tension lies at the heart of what makes the beacon so compelling. It asks whether profound magic can truly be divorced from ambition. It asks if hope can exist without complicity, and whether one artifact can serve both as a unifying force and a harbinger of darker ambitions. In that dramatic moment, Caleb's choice forced us to ask, can any gift of kindness also be a weapon of war? And yet, that's perhaps the most human question of all. In the wake of conflict, can hope survive? And should we trust it when it's wrapped in power?
You bring us hope. And you have undone one of many great wounds against us today. I have no words. My emotions burn within my chest. If you are no friend to the Empire, you have certainly today become heroes of the dynasty.
Caleb initially entered the Luxon Beacon's storyline as a curious scholar, fascinated by its alien energies and the whispers of untapped geomancy magic. The beacon wasn't merely a relic, it represented the power to reshape life, souls, and fate. For a man haunted by his past, in particular the irreversible horrors he once committed, it was both an opportunity and a burden. When the time came to present the beacon before the Bright Queen, Caleb faced a monumental choice. He could have used his power to fuel his own pursuits, to gain knowledge, master magic, and even reshape destiny itself. Instead, he made a deliberate pivot. Caleb strode confidently forward, the dodecahedron in his hand, and pledged it to the dynasty. Not for glory, but to bridge a path toward empathy and understanding. From behind the reins of power, Caleb chose vulnerability. He relinquished personal gain, including the potential to study geomancy and harness the beacon's mysteries, and adopted a different kind of strength, moral conviction. He chose connection over conquest, compassion over control. In handing over the beacon, he wasn't submitting to politics. He was affirming that some things are bigger than ambition. The weight of that choice wasn't just narrative. It was deeply personal. A redeemed scholar, once consumed by the pursuit of power and hunted by trauma, found dignity in sacrifice. He stood before a foreign queen not as a supplicant, but as an equal guided by conscience. What he sacrificed, arcane secrets, leverage, and distance, could never be retrieved. But what he gained was something far richer. The respect of his companions, the trust of a nation, and the hard-won integrity of a man who chose empathy when it mattered most. Caleb's decision was more than a plot point. It was a beacon in itself, guiding us toward the lesson that power is most potent when wielded with humility and humanity. It reminds us that the truest measures of strength are not spells cast or empires conquered, but the courage to let go when it means standing up for what you believe in. After Caleb stepped forward and offered the Luxon beacon to the Bright Queen, the ripple effects were immediate and profound. With the beacon returned, Leylas Kryn agreed to a ceasefire between the Kryn dynasty and the Dwendalian Empire, forcing both nations into tense negotiations and transforming the beacon from a symbol of war into a hopeful instrument of peace. Suddenly, this small artifact became the linchpin of an entire conflict, shifting battle lines and altering alliances. But the peace it secured wasn't absolute. Skirmishes continued, political tensions remained high, and the beacon's power attracted both diplomacy and distrust. The artifact stood at a crossroads. It could be used to bind souls in cycles of rebirth and hope, or manipulated as a tool of control and power. That is what makes the Luxon beacon's journey so compelling, how a single, seemingly passive object came to embody identity, purpose, and choice. Caleb's decision highlighted that power isn't defined by might or arcane prowess, but by the moral weight carried in our hands. Now imagine you found it. Would you see it as a promise of a new life, or a weapon waiting to be wielded? Would you trust in its power to rebuild, or do you fear the cost of wielding such influence? Let me know your take in the comments. What would you have done if that beacon had landed in your hands? If you enjoyed the video, please join the Discord, link in the description below, and whilst you're down there, please like the video and subscribe and ring the notification bell for more deep dives like this one. And until next time, may your choices carry their weight.
I am of the Empire, but I am no friend to the Empire.